I'm just very grateful to be able to just, yeah, as I said, I can't fix light pollution, but hopefully I can get pictures of stars into people's homes just to give them that moment to like
Yeah.
think about how amazing the universe is.
What's up, you scholars of enlightenment? Dr. Sam Gregson here again. I hope you've had a fantastic week and have a cracking weekend in store. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. With the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, we have been inundated with some of the most stunning and awe-inspiring images of our universe to date. We have, in short, been deluged with both amazing science and stunning art. Creating astronomical images from the raw data of telescopes, moving them from outside the visible spectrum into the visible spectrum, and highlighting contrasts that reveal scientifically relevant structure and physics is incredibly important in science. In short, science needs art. And there are some brilliantly talented people that are bringing space from the heavens and into our homes. So I've brought together two fantastic special guests to help me explore that interface between science and art, show how an enjoyment of one can fuel a passion for the other, and also to explain how we can bring the universe down from on high onto a canvas. First, we welcome Cathrin Machin. Cathrin is Australia's fastest growing contemporary artist. She has a passion for space and the big questions that define human existence and our place in the universe. A passion that is reflected in her phenomenally successful space art. After studying engineering and having successful careers in the games industry and retail, it has now become her mission to connect humanity to the cosmos. Day to day, she now paints for some of the world's most influential people and organizations, including space billionaires, prolific scientists, and highly acclaimed sci-fi actors and actresses. Her amazing pieces will be shown throughout this discussion. Secondly, we're joined by Jasmine Singh. Jasmine is a graduate of Purdue University, where she studied planetary science with a double major in atmospheric science. So if you can't tell, she really loves space. Jasmine also has an incredibly successful Twitter profile, Astro-Jazz, where she shares her passion for space, the latest space news, and wonderful science memes. And just like Cathrin, brings space, science, and her own artistic flair to the eyes of many. So without further ado, let's fuse some art and science. So, Kat, I wanted to start by discussing a little bit of your journey, a little bit of your background. How did you get into science and art? And was it art before science or science before art? Did your interest in science create or inspire your love of art, or vice versa? How did you get
I
into
think
these two fields?
so. It was, I think it's the same with most people. Like I watched a bunch of documentaries when I was really young. My mom was super into anything that was like documentaries and like I'm going to say it makes me sound so old, but she would get the newspaper and then she would like circle what was going on the TV, which
No,
is like,
I can associate with that. Jazz probably can't, but I can also associate with
I
that.
know
So
that sounds really
we
bad,
can both
but
feel it.
yeah,
It's
so
fine.
and she would like we'd watch all the documentaries together. I was fascinated by science as a kid because my mum was.
Yeah.
It was my mum that really got me into it, to be honest. And she loved anything that was like nature. So I grew up with like David Attenborough and the Cosmos series and all that kind of stuff, right? And then I just loved art. My brother was really good as an artist. And he's like 8 years older than me, so he like taught me how to like sketch and draw. And
Oh,
it's like
nice.
in the UK when you're like you go to like at school, like you have like obviously recess or we call it playtime or lunchtime or whatever, and it's raining, which let's be honest is majority of the time you have to like go inside and you do things like drawing or use the computers. Back then it was like only a couple of computers in the whole school because
Yeah.
like it
Like
wasn't a
an
thing.
Acorn or an Amstrad or something.
Oh man, I don't feel that old, but that is pretty ancient. Anyway, so
I'm
I
showing my
remember,
age now because ours were
I know,
Acorns.
like
So.
the green
Yeah,
screen
yeah,
with the
yeah, yeah,
fabric. Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God. Anyway, so like, and we went through like the Terminator like phase, which I was definitely way too young to watch all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I drew this like really like detailed, like mechanized robot holding a severed human head with like a spine and blood dripping down, which is very gruesome.
This
for
did
like
not go where I thought it was going to go, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it still.
So like I scrunched the like this is my first memory of like art, I suppose. I remember like scrunching it up and like throwing it away because like, you know, whatever, it's like it's just on the sketch. And then like later on, a teacher called me and her name was Miss Cherry. I remember her very distinctly. She would call me into her office and like held this paper and was like, "Did you draw this?" I was like,
You don't know
I'm
whether
gonna
to
get
be
in.
concerned or
Yeah,
looking
I'm
for
like, I'm going to
praise.
be in so much trouble. I've literally drawn a robot decapitating a human being. And that's pretty gruesome. So and I was like, yeah, it was me. Yeah. And she was like, wow, the shading on this is amazing. Where did you learn to shade like this? And I was like, what? Like I was something that I hadn't anticipated. And that was the first time I was ever told, like, oh, you're good at this.
Yeah.
And I think like any time when you get a little bit of compliment or something as a kid, you're like, oh, I can do this. So ever since I've sort of been like sketching and doodling, but I tried to avoid being an artist because I just honestly thought I was told the whole thing, you know, like get a real job and artists are failures. It's just ironic because that's what I do full time and I do it really successfully. But so that's why I ended up doing engineering because I loved mathematics and physics. So yeah, I studied that at university, which I didn't finish because I was too preoccupied by partying, and also I hated the degree. It was awful. It was a great degree, just not for me, I would like to say. And and I was too focused on, I became a DJ and I put on club nights and events and I ran a record label and did all of that kind of fun stuff while I was probably definitely meant to be studying, but I wasn't. I was drunk most of that time. But it did teach me some really vital things, which is like how to put on events and how to like bring people together and build communities. Actually, it's the most important thing I've ever learned, which is strange because it's not where you would expect to learn it. So I joined like maths and science at that point, right? And my first astronomical moment was 7 years old in the backyard with some binoculars because my mom had found out that it was the Perseid meteor shower, and my dad's old binoculars, and like we couldn't see the meteor shower because it's in the UK and it's light polluted to hell, like through the tiny breaks you get in the clouds, which is not very frequent. But I got to see the moon and I got to see the craters, and it was just stunning. And I've just always, I think, a mixture of documentaries and having those little moments as a kid were the things that started me off.
Okay, so why did you decide to kind of fuse art and science? Do you think it's kind of useful to use art to kind of draw people into science for like, you know, STEM or STEAM, or do you think it's useful for engaging with new audiences? So,
or is it just super cool? So that's the end of
it. So here's the interesting thing. Most people don't understand the difference between like what is actually art. What is art? And people get really confused with it and they mix it up with the concept of craft. So you have like art and craft, right? Art is literally just the meaning, the message, the inspiration that goes behind the thing that you're creating. It's actually it's the heart and soul of what it's meant to represent. And then craft is like the skill in which you do it. So you can be low skill, low craft, and then very high art value, or you can be very low art value and then very high craft. You can do photorealistic pictures of nothing, you know, things that don't mean anything, and that's a-okay. And a lot of that would be classed in like fine art, I suppose, or but even then, most of those have this like underlying message. I can paint and draw anything, actually, as it turns out. It's just that I find everything else massively boring. And every time anyone asks me to draw a picture of a face or a person, I just think, why? Because I just feel like on the grand scale of things, the universe is, can I swear?
Of course
No,
you can.
it's
Yeah. Bad
fucking
boy of
amazing.
science, for heaven's sake. Of course you can. You
I know what
swear
to
anyway.
say.
Swear on here.
So the cosmos is so insane. It's so beautiful. And I am just thoroughly obsessed by it. Like it was like the spark was reignited for me after I did an ayahuasca retreat, which in Peru, and you sort of drink this tea and you trip a lot in a maloka with lots of shamans. And I know this is not where you expected it to go. Of course, if you're going to do that, make sure you do it safely in a place where it's nice and legal. However, it was something that reconnected me to something that I loved as a kid. I always loved the stars. I was one of those kids, and I'm sure, like almost all of us listening to this, hopefully, when we were kids, we were looking at how like the little glow in the dark stars and on our ceilings, and if not now as well, I hope still. And I just realized that it was just such a wonderful thing, like the cosmos. And I sat in those experiences and I really contemplated this question: why does anything exist? And I don't just mean like, why do I exist, or what is human experience, but like literally right now, the matter that makes up the phone or computer that you're watching this on, or headphones, or your clothes, your body, the ground, all the energy, like where did it all come from? And like some people will say God, and that's fine, and some people will say the Big Bang or whatever scientific things, also that's fine. But what came before that? Like, who was God's dad, or where did the Big Bang originate? And I feel like both situations are one of these things. It's like, just give me one miracle and I will explain the rest. That miracle just happens to be the creation of all matter, energy, and everything within the universe.
So the really cool thing, and maybe that's what you're kind of driving at. And I always think this because you decided to do space, not just science, but specifically space.
Space, yeah.
Astronomy has this kind of almost innate ability to inspire kind of deep wonder, reflection in people. So when we look at these pictures, these fantastic pictures that you make, are you trying to get across that message of wonder and reflection in people that you said that you had yourself? Or is it just, this is a beautiful thing that I saw today? Is there a different message behind each of these pictures that you're trying to show the audience?
I think there's a group of messages for everyone, because we are all so trapped. Like everyone is just trapped in, like 99% of people in Europe and the US are living under light pollution. So a lot of people don't realize you're meant to be able to see the Milky Way with your naked eye. Like it's not meant to be something that was just like specifically for cameras. Like you go somewhere dark enough, you see it perfectly, but that's only been a thing that you've not been able to see for the last like 75 years, really, or maybe 100 years max, right? Prior to that point, everyone went out at night and saw the Milky Way. Like people don't even realize how weird it is that you go out and you see no stars. Like
I remember being in India when I was on like an expedition for gap year, and I was just like, what the hell are all these? How many? Just seeing a clear sky with no light pollution is just awe-inspiring in itself, without even going into any fine details of the structures that are around some of those stars.
It's phenomenal, and it's like such a life-changing experience. And like most people will die and they will have never seen the stars properly, not once. Most kids will be born, they'll never see the stars. And even most people listening to this, probably, if they've been lucky enough in their whole lives, might have only seen the Milky Way naked eye once, which is insane. So for me, it's like we've got this interesting time in history. Simultaneously, we have more access to space than ever. James Webb Space Telescope, access to advanced technology, and simultaneously the least access to space, because you literally can't see it naked eye anymore. Or like, if you are one of the few, any people that can, they are like the minority, so it's insane. So I want people to like contemplate first. I think space, the contemplation of like existence, is like just good for the soul, whatever the soul might be, right?
Almost something that we can all kind of share in together, right? That wonder about space, rather than squabbling about whatever we are in politics or whatever's going on. We can all kind of feel small and and connected to something that's much bigger than ourselves. I guess
Right.
you mentioned
For
people
me,
do this with religion and other things as well, but it's
yeah,
almost
that's
something
it.
else that we can share together.
Yeah, well, like whether people are like scientific driven or religious driven, we're all like pointing up, looking at the same thing. Our methods for understanding it are vastly different, but we're all still fascinated and in awe and wonder at everything that we see. There is no one that goes out and sees a clear night sky and sees all those stars and thinks mundane rubbish. No one goes out there and looks at the stars and goes, "Oh man, someone cut me up on the road."
Yeah.
Or someone was rude. Someone wrote something really rude on Facebook and it was really awful. Or someone did a really dumb TikTok and I hate, you know what I mean? That is the last thing that ever crosses your mind as you look up into the cosmos. You just greeted with something that is so immense. And like, even I'm like, I did a poll on my Twitter and like, everyone that follows me loves space. Like 60% of the people had never seen the Milky Way. And of that 60%, they'd only seen it once. Wow. Most of them, which, so I can't fix light pollution overnight, but what I can do is get these pictures into people's homes so they can start. Because like, I don't want people to just look at it and be like, oh, it's a picture of space. I mean, you can be, sure, and it is like pretty in that sense. Yeah. But I just want you to think like that thing in the sky. It's like, that's a whole galaxy, edge on an entire galaxy, 400 plus billion stars, all some of which have planets, Earth-like planets. Like other worlds exist out there. We are this tiny speck. It's humbling, but then also I feel like it creates that sense of you like unity, where you realize, wow, how small we are, and actually, wow, we're all together on this. Yeah. You know, we are all on a floating spaceship flying through the cosmos together.
Jazz, you might remember, is it called something like the overlook effect or something like that?
The overview effect.
Yeah, the overview effect. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And that'll probably tally nicely with this.
Yeah, it's basically the feeling that astronauts get when they go up into space for the first time and they're looking down at Earth. They finally realize how small we are, how fragile we are. Like, this is our one home. I mean, people talk about going to Mars, doing all that, but this is really our one shot. This planet, I wouldn't say it was made for us, but we are a product of so many years of evolution and all that, and we should at least protect this one place that we have, because even if we did hypothetically go to Mars and whatnot, like, it's not going to be the same. We'd have to manufacture an Earth-like planet. It wouldn't, it's not the same thing. So yeah, it's just that humbling feeling, really, that astronauts get, where they're just overcome with so many emotions.
And I think the studies show actually that there was an uptick in sort of positive feeling towards environmentalism and these kind of things after the images came out.
Maybe we could send some politicians. I'm just saying. I think to
look at Cat's Heart. We're going to get some politicians round. They're going to sit down. They're going to look at some of these pictures, and then we're going to get it all sorted out. Are you good with that, Cat?
It is cheaper than launching politicians to space. True. But if there is no return flight, it might be far more enjoyable to send them to space. Kidding, of course. But so it's that sense of overview effect. And that reconnection to the cosmos, of which most of us forget that it's even out there. Like our life is in concrete jungles with four walls around us, smothered in a blanket of light pollution. And it's just like, when life is busy and it's like Zoom meetings and it's like meeting and it's emails and it's traffic jams and it's like stuff, and we forget to like think about like out there, every direction, like straight through the floor where you are right now. Infinite distance.
I definitely have this problem.
The depth of space.
You get into your own head and forget all these amazing things are out there.
But those things are important to contemplate. It's good for a sense of perspective. Firstly, it doesn't fix anything in anyone's life, but it does put things into perspective, which he's part of that overview effect, right? But simultaneously, of course, we are like this speck of nothingness in a great vast ocean. Why would we matter? But we are also the most beautiful, wonderful things.
If you want to see it in a bad way, you could look the other way and say we're saying something, but we're gonna stay away from it.
We're the beautiful, most beautiful, wonderful creations of whatever that's ever existed that we know of today. I mean, and it's like the intricacies of consciousness and human life is just amazing. And we have this, I really want everyone to have this like shared sense of stewardship about the planet Earth, right? So that's how I look at it. But the reason, honestly, is that I'm just so compelled by the concept that I'm just so amazed that anything exists, because logically nothing should exist. Like, you know, the conservation of energy and all of that stuff, all the stuff that's like the foundations of physics, would mean that nothing really should exist. But yet here we are. Wasn't that mad? So I'm so obsessed by that concept that I just have to paint it all the time. I just blows my mind. I think
it's amazing that you do something you find, you know, such a connection to. So that leads on to a really interesting question. How do you decide what you want to paint? Because you've got a big ass universe out there. Do you ever get kind of paralysis by analysis because there's so many possibilities that you could choose? How do you go about making that decision as to what you want to?
I want to add to that.
Please.
When you're done.
No, please
okay.
do.
Do you use like already existing images? Like I know you also know Lacey, you know, like she paints like Hubble images, and you know, she's looking into like JWST images. Like, do you like to look at those and go off of those, or kind of just pick your own thing?
So a little bit of both. So I do some imagination and some stuff that's based on the actual real cosmos. And I do all sorts of different types. So a big portion of what I paint is actually commissioned work. So I work with clients who really want a special piece. And I'm very fortunate to have like a 2 or 3 year waiting list at this point for people waiting just to work with me, which is such a, like, I've only been painting for 6 years, so it blows me away. Like, I have no idea that this is even a thing, right? So a big portion of that is, you know, from other people. However, the way that I actually work with a client is like, I'll do a call from commission. I might get 60 people apply, or like, you know, of the people that are on the waiting list, there might be 60 people. And then I will interview each person, and each person will come with like images of things that they're fascinated by and different specifications. And I get to know them as, you know, as people as well. And then from that, I will lay all the different options, and I will only pick 6. So I have to say goodbye to most people, unfortunately. So there's a lot of people I can't work with. So some of it is just fascinating. Now, what I like to do is that I'm actually an astrophotographer. This moon is one of my first astro photos. I think we've got
the nice.
Yes, me with the telescope.
Don't worry, I've done my stalking in the background to get the right stuff.
I love it. So here's the interesting thing, right? Is that you can't see these things naked eye, not just for the sake of light pollution, but we don't have long exposure, narrow band filtered eyeballs, or eyeballs that can see X-rays or radio waves or that kind of stuff. So it has to be imaged first, really. And also you can't paint in the dark. So when I get like people ask me like, oh, do you paint from pictures, or do you? And I'm like, it's
just
really
like
hard
stood
to
out
paint
there in the middle of a dark field, like painting the sky.
I'm like, where is my canvas? It's funny, but people don't think about that, right?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so I have to paint in the day, and of course, a lack of stars and all that kind of jazz. So I realized I had this moment. So I do a lot of astrophotography processing, and incidentally, one of my favorite astrophotographers, processors for the James Webb is a lady called Judy Schmidt, or SpaceGex or AstroGex, I think. Yeah. I love her. I've been following her for a long time because I remember looking up something and being like, oh, I wonder who made the process this, and I found her, and I was like, oh, it's an amazing woman. No one knows. Like, most people think that it's just, I know this sounds dumb, but I hadn't even realized there'd be other women doing this kind of processing. So it was like one of my most happiest moments. If everyone should follow Judy Schmidt, because she's amazing. And her work is phenomenal. But yeah, so I had this moment. I process a lot of astro photos, not just for myself, for other people, which is fine. And I don't necessarily need crediting or anything like that. I just help a lot of people because I have an eye for these kind of things. So and I had so the photo that I'd processed was painted by another artist. A-okay. I didn't need to be consulted because it, you know, I'd already handed over the rights to the image. But I had this like pang of like, oh, I felt, because it was like
mine. It's one of my babies.
Yeah, I was like putting my picture. But obviously they didn't know, and they asked permission, and it's all good. But I had this moment of realization that as an artist, I was painting other people's artworks. It's what most people don't realize. Even if you love space, unless you're an astrophotographer, you might not realize what goes into a single image. So like a single image might be the collection. Now, depending on what telescope you're using, obviously different if you're using a space telescope, but we're talking hundreds of hours of data acquisition. So standing outside, like there, I'm sitting outside. Obviously, it was a bit well lit because I was narrowband PEC training at the time. So my mount.
And it would have been a terrible photo for Twitter if you just
it would be pretty it was just black. Yeah, that's also the problem. Everyone's like, you should film what you do. And I'm like, I do it all in the dark. So for that aspect. So you do hundreds of hours of processing, and then you basically stack and process these images, and you have different filters, and the way that there is so much. You can take the same photograph of the same nebula and everyone's will come out different depending on how you interpret that data. Because a lot of people say, like, is it real? Is it fake? It's all real data. It's just how it's interpreted. It's like, it's the bar chart is the bar chart, but some of the columns might be green on one day, and someone might do the same bar chart, but they'll be red. It's like, yeah, visually the aspect is different. The data is true. And of course, there are like, we do also do like real color photographs, but most of them end up being red because of the red stretch of the universe.
And if we think about the JWST images, right, most of them we wouldn't be able to see. So they have to bring them into the spectrum straight out of the gate. They have to do some level of space art to be able to produce these beautiful images in a lot of cases.
Because everyone would truly be disappointed if it was just a black screen. Like there's some X-rays
scale image of
you can't see it because they're X-rays, but there are X-rays in there. Like everyone would be like, "This is rubbish." So I process that data. So to create a single image, you might be processing for 40 to 100 hours. It's almost as much as doing a painting. Not even including the data acquisition and all the time learning and to control equipment and that kind of stuff. I have a great deal of respect for astrophotographers, having gone through the pain of trying to get it.
It feels like doing a video now for YouTube. It's like, oh, I've got a great idea for a script. So write the script up, record it, and then I'm like, oh god, I've got to edit for like 3 days now. It's
3 days,
like the worst thing in the world. But this sort of nuts and bolts stuff that you don't see that has to go into it before you can make that image.
That 5 seconds you spend with that astro image probably took someone weeks and weeks and weeks to make just one image. And I just realized that as an artist, I was just painting other people's artwork. And whilst that's nice, and I was adding my own flair to it, it really wasn't. I really wanted to have like a unique peer into how I interpret the universe, but it's not necessarily how I interpret someone else's interpretation of the universe. So
how do you go about changing or sort of tweaking those images? So for example, we've got a nice image of a nebula here, and then your version of the Crab Nebula, and then your version is here, where you've clearly gone and you've changed the coloration and made some highlights here and there. What is your thinking behind how you go about quote unquote changing these kind of natural images or the images that you get back from the photography?
I get you. Yeah, I have absolutely no interest in, like, I want to keep it as scientifically accurate as possible, but my main point is to make something as beautiful as possible. It's like, how do I make the decision? Honestly, I get this gut feeling of what has to happen, and it's so strange because I can literally look at an image and I will say it's like 3-point color balance off on one direction, and someone will be like, nah, it's not, and then they'll do it and they'll be like, oh my god, it is. Like, I guess I don't know how, and I think that all artists build this up and don't even realize, but you get like this sort of perfect pitch equivalent, but for images, where you look at it and you kind of know what needs to be done to it, which I know is a terrible way to answer. But at the beginning,
it's a really nice art answer compared to like science, because I'd probably be like, right, I'm going to get out, you know, do some measurements, try and work out what the best way to do it. Whereas it's like, no, I just feel it, and you know.
Yeah. So I want to keep the structure the same, but the colors are free, up for grabs. Is how I look at it, really. So like the stars in that image are all placed one by one accurately, and the way that the tendrils are, they're all placed accurately. However, the colors and the way that I've interpreted that aspect, totally different from you know what you would find. And realistically, I just wanted to, I want people to have that oh my god moment, you know. And sometimes you do have to bring in a lot of like whatever, so your own artistic interpretation. I love this one is a photograph.
That's so cool. I mean, you were talking about, you know, seeing the Milky Way with your own eyes, and like that's literally on my bucket list. Like I want to go out so bad to like the West, or you know, somewhere some kind of desert in California or Arizona or something, and just sit and like look up, because I have been robbed of, you know, the true view, you know, the true night sky view. I remember, you know, I used to tweet. There was just a period where I used to only tweet like other people's astrophotography of the Milky Way, because it was just so gorgeous. And I love, you know, how every photographer's pictures are going to be different, and especially the ones like this one where it's just like a reflection in the water. Oh, perfect. So,
this one was I shot in Australia, so which is interesting.
That's another good place to do it.
Well, you gotta go to Australia, because so it's really strange. I mean, it probably might not be so strange for a lot of people, but so obviously when you look up, you see certain stars, you get used to, you become familiar with where they are, and then you go to the other hemisphere and everything looks so different. You look up and you're like, oh, I feel lost. So that was quite a fascinating thing. But this one is in a Bortle 1, so it's the darkest skies in Australia. I mean, Australia is predominantly Bortle 1.
So is this in the outback, or whereabouts are you in
Australia? So this is hard. This is 4 hours between so equidistant between Perth and Melbourne, so like 4 hours either way to one. It was crazy. The place I was living with, amazing astrophotographer called Sarah Longcore, and she lives like on the most amazing properties, like thousands and thousands, like 1,500 acres of woodland. And I will never complain about putting out the bins, because it took 15 minutes by car to get to the front gate, which is wild. So that's, if you want to know how remote it is, that's how long it took to get to the drive. But yeah, it was amazing. And just now bear in mind, you can see the Milky Way, and actually on some days you get really good seeing. So what that means is like how twinkly or how like wobbly the atmosphere is. When you see twinkling stars, that's actually bad for astrophotography, because that's just like pockets of dense or less dense air going over them. But on some days when you can see it, it was so bizarre. Like there was one day where the sky was so clear that we could see the color in the Milky Way, and I've only ever had that once. I've seen the stars a lot, but that was like, wow. And even this one is enhanced. Of course, the Milky Way doesn't look literally that bright, but it is that detailed when you're that in a dark area like that. Yeah,
we might be showing our age again, Kat, but I'm sure, like, even when I used to go up into North Yorkshire as a kid, you'll be able to see a lot more than you can nowadays.
100%.
The seeing has decreased like over the last 20, 30 years to, you know, compared to when I was a kid, I'm sure. Or maybe I'm just having those like nostalgic kids memories.
No, it's a really notable decline in access to space. So you might have to Google this, but I'm pretty sure the Bortle classification of light pollution, so
Right,
1
here we
is
go.
no light pollution and 9 is the max, it's like Times Square, right? Has only been done a few years ago. Like, it only came about like in the late 90s.
So
when it was
1 excellent dark sky site,
Yes.
and 9 inner city sky, which is terrible.
9 is like, Las Vegas strip sort of thing. But this scale only came into existence a few years ago, like maybe late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know if it says when it started or when it was like coined.
It does not.
No, but
published in February 2001, so it's only 20 years old.
Yeah, there's no need to classify light pollution before this point. So, which is phenomenal. Like, it's so heartbreaking if you think about that. We've always had stars. We don't have stars anymore for everyone. It's just incredibly sad. So, yeah. But there is stuff people can do. You can put shades and things around your outdoor lighting. It will cut down. And, a lot of organizations like the International Dark Sky Association hopefully is working to put in legislation for like how outdoor lighting should be done. Because firstly, there's no point lighting upwards because it's just wasted energy. You might as well, you want to light the ground, not the sky. So hopefully they can do a lot more with that. But it's I just want people to be able to go out and see the night sky at least once. Jasmine, I hope you get out. And I just hope you get out and see it. It's amazing.
I want to.
So to break up the first section, we've got a little bit of a surprise for you, Cathrin. So
I love this image.
Here are some images that we wondered what you might think about doing with them. So this is an image from my field of particle physics. So this is a collision, a proton collision. What would you think about doing with it to make this a little bit sexier, maybe a little bit more appealing for a commission or a customer? And then we'll show you what we've come up with as scientists trying to dabble in the art world, because we've had a go as well. I'll put the Tony Hart gallery music in the background.
Oh, I love it. So interestingly, I've actually painted this one. It was one of the first things I ever painted. Yeah. Right at the very beginning. I will find it on my Instagram and I will show you. Amazing. But my very first exhibition was called Quanta to Quasars. And it was like this idea of the smallest things and the largest things, because it's equally as fascinating as the cosmos is. Also, particle physics is that in the opposite direction for me.
So this is how I like to think about it. So I'm like, well, they go really, really big, but I go really, really small, inwards looking, these kind of things. It doesn't quite have the same reach, I find, as the cosmos stuff, but it has that same. I
feel like it could be painted more. Like back when I'm about to show you, hopefully I've got a photo of it. So it's a very terribly small picture, but that is it in the middle on the side. Yeah. So on the left, you see that green explosion.
Yeah.
So that was my version of it, and I have always intended to go back and do a whole series of these, because for me, I just think that it's phenomenal. And again, it's like answering that question, like asking that question, like, how did we get here? Like, what are the nuts and bolts of reality? It's fascinating.
So talk us through the thinking of this one. What were we going with to kind of spice this one up?
Honestly, I was just thinking how would I represent it as sort of just this most beautiful, phenomenal explosion. And I didn't quite get as good as what it could have been, but it was all right. I don't know. Like I just thought I would draw it out as like this little explosion.
So let's go to Jazz's version, which she started off with what felt to me like a kind of personal attack. So I don't know how I feel about this one. Jazz, do you want to talk us through it? I'm only joking, by the way.
Yeah. So for all of these, you'll see I took a meme approach to it, because that's just what I do. I tweet a lot of like science memes. I try to be professional at times, but at the end of the day, I'm just a shit poster like everyone else. So the first thing I saw, like the first thing that came to my mind was splatter paint. So I just found a photo of splatter paint with the black background and then slapped on the Office meme and just went with it.
It is splatter paint, to be fair. And I did appreciate this one. This was
that one is my
nice.
favorite, yes, because it reminded me of Darth Maul's lightsaber. Even though I don't watch Star Wars, I just know about this. So yeah,
it's very, very nice. I tried to be a little bit more. What's the correct word? Wanky, artsy maybe is a more appropriate word. So I call this one huge or large and small. So going into that idea of,
nice.
You know, you've got the very tiniest things here smashing together, and as you project out, you've got this, you know,
huge.
the stars and the planets and the huge. So this was the idea. This was the idea behind this, trying to be artsy. So that's our first go.
That is exceptional, and I love it. Yeah, I do hope I'm going to paint them again. Like there's like a couple different sciences that I'm fascinated by. Obviously the cosmos, but also particle physics and a lot of like the aspects of like theoretical physics that go along with like, you know, like string theory and so on.
Well, if you need any inspiration on that side, we can definitely help you out. So next
and
one.
Also,
sorry, yeah, Kat, did you want to say something?
I was going to say also, I love neurophysics and anything to do with like how the brain works.
Me too.
I'm just like,
I like to think that if I didn't go into this field, I would have gone into psychology, because I really like how we just operate.
And also like child development, like how brains develop. Cool too, yeah. Amazing. Anyway, so I love this photo anyway.
Yeah, right. I think it's good the way it is.
So now I feel bad, because I was like, I typed into Google like boring Mars photo, and I was like, this photo is kind of cool anyway, but okay, we'll go with, you know, I'm not going to argue with you, Google. We'll put this one. Kat, how would we sex this up? How would we sell this to a customer if we you know, we got this as a fixer upper? What we doing?
I mean, firstly, lighting is everything. And this is very flat. Like, of course, there's a lot of dust in the environment, but it would be fascinating to see what it was like at night when you've not necessarily got, you know, this light dome over it, right? And I would definitely be adding a lot more shading to it. So like making the things look more defined and mountainous, rather than, because at the moment what you've got is an image that looks just massively flat.
Yeah.
So I would be adding in like a lot more depth and that kind of stuff, and maybe like some little smoke trails and stuff in there. But
so I'll go first this time then. So I added a little bit more color.
Nice.
So I call this one Pathway to the Stars. So I then tried to make the idea of a pathway going up to the top, that where ancient aliens might have trudged up, like you would see on a hill in, you know, on Earth, that a little trail going up into the try and give it, like you said, some depth, that this isn't just a flat rock that's in front of you. And you know, everyone loves stars, so kind of got that aspirational idea of coming out of the dirt and going up to the stars. So that was the idea there. Jazz, what did you come up with?
Another meme.
That is infinitely better.
You still got the idea of life being on Mars, though. So
yes, I didn't even think about that. I was just like,
I hinted at it. You've been more explicit, so that's good.
It's iconic. That image is iconic now.
I know that it's not like in style anymore, because the internet, you know, the
it's
lifespan of
you.
memes is like so short.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made another one too, I think. Sam has it.
It's funny actually, because the sort of most famous video I did was a meme video. I don't know if I've ever shown you it, Jazz. It's got 10 million views. I don't know how, but stuff moves on so quickly. But it's come back today because of the death of the Queen, and it's the you know, the I want to say Nigerian, but I'm not sure that's correct. You know, the funeral dancers that dance under the
procession.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you afterwards. But yes, very, very, very good. And you went a bit more explicit. These are terrifying, by the way. I don't know where you got these from.
I just looked up like alien, like transparent image, so that I could make it as easy as possible. But yeah, this one I, took a little bit more literally because I was like, okay, let's do like an alien crash landing.
But you got the same
I don't
thing
know
as
about
well,
the guy
like you
in the
said, it gets
background,
some
but yeah.
depth now. It's like there's something going on in the front.
Yeah, there's something going on.
And there's something in the back, rather than it just being like Kat said, the first image, you're like, how far away are these? How far away is this stuff? Is it all sort of close together?
Yeah,
is this
you
miles
Feels very
away?
flat.
You
Yeah.
can't really tell because it's all merged onto. So I hadn't really thought about that when
Like-
as to why it was a quote unquote boring image, but that makes a lot of sense.
If I was taking that image as well, I would be so much lower to the ground so that you get this sense of like the actual ground. You see all the little details up close, like all the different grains. And then going into the foreground, it would look so much better. But
Right.
whatever.
And we got one more before we move on. So there was
Okay.
I thought we'd throw a little bit of an oddball in.
I
So
remember seeing that.
I love this.
did you see
Love
this?
everything. Do me a favor. Have you seen firstly, this is phenomenal and I love everything about this. But did you see the person that set up a fish tank so that the fish could drive itself around?
No, but we're going to look at that immediately.
So there's a little aquarium and they put a top-down camera and they can track the position of the fish, and then the fish actually was able to like drive it around, and there's this amazing video of the fish driving this little
All right.
thing
Oh my god.
Yeah, you heard that right.
and see,
Is it this?
I remember
Yeah,
that.
it is it.
Now I
This is
remember
it.
that. Yeah.
it could drive
Have
itself
trained a
around,
goldfish
and
to
I
drive.
want a
Yeah, you
pet
heard that
fish that
right.
can drive itself
Using
around.
a camera
Like,
to
wouldn't it be
translate the fish's
amazing?
movements into
So
a
yeah, so
computer,
it tracks
they
it, and
trained
it,
the fish to
and it
navigate a
can, like,
target on
I
a
would have to make
I
its
wonder
way
if he
over to the
feels
red
that.
card. Huh?
I wonder if he feels that movement.
I've just found the subject for my short tomorrow. So thank you for this.
Yay! So yeah, I'm all about like giving animals wheels. Like I think also dogs with wheels and cats with wheels are phenomenal.
Oh my god.
Like,
The ones when they've had an
Wheels.
accident and they put some wheels on, and then they can go back and play with the other dogs. It's like
best thing ever.
even I, as like a a douchey alpha male, will be like, there's a tear in the eye for that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I want a little wheelie dog. So yeah, I love all of that stuff. And I just think it's amazing. But yeah, LiDAR plus fish tank. Wonderful. Same with the robot legs snake. Amazing.
So what would we do with this technologically terrifying image, Kat? Any idea what you would be thinking? Somebody throws you this and says
everything is better with like a top hat and a bow tie, first of all.
Yeah.
So that would be first call. Or some sort of like making it into like a little space outfit. Or
I
like
should have done that. Oh.
I think that and obviously like you could just jazz it up a little bit more. Like why legs? Why not little roller skates? Why has it been a roller disco with little tiny rolling?
I should have done that.
Little tiny inline skates. It would be amazing.
So you say in space. So I thought we'd throw him into a little bit of a little bit of
coloured in and everything.
Well, I tried to be like, there's red over here. I'll put some red on there.
Look at that.
And then I think I got a bit lazy and didn't do the lighting in the
top marks
in the
that's
bit,
right.
And I gave him a little bit of a haze, but he's having a nice
I would say the art
around.
level is high and the craft level might be a bit lower, but that's okay.
I think both probably low, to be fair, but I appreciate the compliment.
You're welcome.
and then
mine is so stupid.
No, it's not. With different styles. This is art, right?
Yeah.
It's all subjective. People can enjoy
yeah.
what they want.
So I went with another meme approach, and so obviously, a lot of people are already scared of snakes. So the one advantage that we have over them is that we have legs and we can like run away if we
like
see
a Dalek,
one.
right?
So now that somebody has made it possible for a snake to have legs, it inspired this meme because now it's like people that are already scared of snakes are going if they have legs. So
yeah.
I like it.
What does it say on the bottom? Because
it says, "I fear no man, but that thing, it scares me."
That's true.
It is a pretty terrifying image if you spend any time thinking about it. The weird thing was how quickly it seemed to take to it. It was like, yeah, this is fine. I'm quite happy with this.
I watched a really amazing. I was flying back from Texas yesterday, and I watched on the plane a really amazing documentary called "The Father of Cyborgs" about like the original stuff pre Neuralink, but like about this brain computer interface, which is fascinating.
I know what
right?
you're talking about. Yeah.
And so, and the thing that really got me was this. So this guy had it was the same thing as Stephen Hawking's. He was locked in his body and couldn't speak or communicate, and then they gave him this interface that was patched into his brain where he could like control the cursor and move stuff. And at the beginning they said, like, what do you think of when you're moving the cursor? And he's like, yeah, I just think about lifting my arm, or I think about lifting my leg. And then after a couple months they asked him, and they were like, what are you thinking of? And he was like, yeah, I'm thinking of nothing, which means that he's no longer lifting his arm or leg in his mind. He just thinks about, I'm moving the cursor over there, and it moves. So it's like the first direct communication. And this was like 70s, 80s, like this is a while back, right? This is all the precursor thing, but fascinating.
No, it's really, really cool. So for the second part, we won't keep you for too much longer, but we've got some a little bit spicier questions maybe. So
love it.
Right. So I've seen a few comments in the past on your stuff where people have criticized you editing or altering or bastardizing, really? As they would probably say, something that's already innately or inspiring or beautiful. Have you had a lot of problem with these comments?
I've never seen any comments like that.
Honestly, I've seen a few underneath.
That's so funny, because like it's a given. I'm an artist. What do you expect? Because like it's like, if you're going to take an actual photorealistic and keep it photograph, why not just take a photograph? You know, like if you're there to catalog something, because I'm in obviously the astrophotography community, and there are old curmudgeons, we'll call them. They're like, oh no, you can't do this with you. It's too much here, too much saturation here, whatever. But the point is that what is the purpose of the image, right? So the purpose of the image for someone might literally be, I want to create a catalog of stuff going on for scientific purposes or for my own personal purpose. Some people are doing these images because it's mastery over this insane equipment. And it's just, for them, it's just like, how good can I get it? They're not necessarily worried about like the visual aspect, as in prettifying it, but just like, how crisp can I get the clean data? Some people, like myself, I don't care about any of that stuff. I want to make the most ridiculously beautiful things I can. And I want people to see them and feel how I feel when I see space. Like, this is an expression of like, when I look at space, I feel a particular way about it that I know not everyone does.
So it's like, why did you come here if you don't want to see my artistic expression? Why did you not just go to the James Webb Space Telescope website?
Right. And, so, it's fine. And also, like, for me, there's aspects of like little tiny details that I'll emphasize more than would be in a normal image. But they are like the same details. Like, I did look a swathe of different edits of the James Webb images, because that's what I do, right? I take the images, I took the data and reprocess the data. So yeah, I mean, I find it interesting because it's like, it's artwork. What do you expect? It's on the packet.
Well, so you mentioned about sort of, tweaking these images and having to bring these images. Sometimes we even have to bring them into a different spectrum to even be able to see them. Now, I've also seen quite a few of these comments floating around that this essentially makes them fake because, you have to change them, you have to edit them. Have you had any of these people pop out at all?
All the time.
All the time.
See, what happens is we used to take in photographs on our phone. We'll take a photograph and then we'll go, that's what it is. What most people don't realize is that a camera sensor on your phone is black and white. Over the top of that camera sensor is a matrix or filter that gives it the individual colored pixels, right? So
there's data at some level that's disentangled from the colors.
100%. So then it's like, and then the amount of post-processing that goes into producing that image, like, when like phone cameras seem to be getting bigger and bigger, like better and better, it's actually all down to processing. How that's processed is the majority of the improvements you see with camera phones. Like, the sensors a tiny little bit better, but we've not had insane levels of breakthrough for sensors. We've had insane levels of processing breakthroughs for things like GPUs and AI processing and that kind of stuff, where it kind of knows what it is. Most of what you see if you take a photograph on your phone is made up by by its interpretation, like how hot the colors are or how cold the colors are. Every image you ever see is
I mean, if we want to go really, really deep, we can say our eye does that as well. So
our eye does that. That's it. The center of our eye, totally blind. Everything you see in the center of your eye, 100% manufactured by your brain. Doesn't exist. There's no rods and cones in the center of your eye. It's black. Like, and you might have had the experience of staring at like a star or like a glow in the dark thing, and then you stare at it and it disappears. You go, what? It's like really confusing. It's because the center of your eye is blind and your brain doesn't know, oh, I'm going to add that bit of data back in. Like, your brain manufactures everything you see. Like, nothing is really real. But that being said, the interpretation is an interpretation, but the data is still the data. It's like the shape, all of those kinds of things, like where things appear and where things don't appear. That's real data. It's measurable. We do it, take the same photos over and over again. It doesn't matter what color they are. They'll show similar data, right?
Well, so I mean, with all the with the particle collision images, right? They're not real. That's not you would see nothing, right? You would just see that's it. You might see some sparks in your eye if they go through you. But these are all renderings of the data,
right? They're interpretations of real results, and that's really what everything is. And to be honest, if anyone says that, I find it sweet, because it just, people don't understand how these things work. And if you're really worried about a lot of this stuff being like fake as such, it's just because you don't understand the process, and that's A-okay. Because I don't think many people talk about like how they actually come to be. But yeah, you can see all of the actual data, and that's fascinating. So when you do occasionally you'll see like black and white data. A lot of that is actually like as legit as you can get most of the time.
Yeah. So picking off of that, there's like also people sometimes in your comments that think that like the web images are fake, or even like CGI or whatever. Have you like noticed any of these people, or that?
I haven't noticed a great deal. Like I do, but it is a common question. Like, are the colors real? Are all these different things real? And it's like, and that's okay. I think a lot of people are curious about that, and there are no dumb questions. To be fair, so yeah, a lot of those colors aren't real, because what color is an X-ray? Can't see it. It's not visible. Because we've got this electromagnetic spectrum. We see this tiny little bit, which is like the actual visible light spectrum, but it's still electromagnetic waves. We can still record them. So yeah, of course, the visual aspect of it. Now it's like you can show someone just the X-rays and then just the infrared, and you show them in gray, black and white. But the problem is that if I wanted to show both of those things together at the same time, the problem is that what's one patch of gray versus another patch of gray? How do you differentiate? So what you do is you say, well, this one we assign the color blue or purple, whatever.
And if we don't do that kind of discernment between those two sections, often you can't even draw out the science that you need to, because you can't tell that they're both the structure. Different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just a big old gray blob. Now there is probably some importance to just having them all as one and all one color, and sure. But if you really want to see like the intricacies or the like cool things that are going on, you're going to have to start to pick out aspects of the data and show them overlapping. So you go, oh, okay, I can see now there's this big patch of X-rays, and then in the middle is this, all these different things going on.
And that's why these, I don't know if you've seen these kind of overlay web compare images where you can see the same object in Hubble and in JWST. And just even looking at them in those different wavelengths, you can see different structure. You can see different physics going on. You can see different interactions. So, of course, at some level, at some point, you have to do some sort of artistic discernment to see that structure, to see those interactions. So to say that we shouldn't do this just seems, like you said, it's not people's fault for not knowing, but kind of just naive of the process that we do this all the time.
Yeah, so if anyone says that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is a good opportunity for learning.
It's a teachable moment.
Yeah, it's a teachable moment, and that's fine. But yeah, like, I mean, because like the truth is, it's like, what is fake and what's not fake? If I took a photograph of it over and over and over again, I get the same amount of detail. Sure, the colors might look a bit different, but the structure is all the structure. It's all there, and it's always going to be there. Well, won't always be there. I mean, like billions and billions of years, I'm sure it will dissipate. But like right now, if you take lots and lots of photographs, it's always going to be the same thing. So I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter. That's why I'm always like, this kind of beautiful thing about space. The structure is what it is, but colors are kind of up for grabs. So,
so how do you? That was a question I wanted to ask. How do you see JWST? Because obviously it's producing these stunning images. As you said, you have to do a lot of this processing anyway. So I described you as a human nearcam on Twitter for kind of the work you do, because it kind of basically does the same thing as we've been discussing. Do you see James Webb as a kind of almost as a rival in this space then, or is it a help?
I mean, it's just another thing out there collecting cool data, isn't it? So okay. I don't necessarily see it as a rival. I mean, in terms of, it's just revealing things that we would never be able to see normally again. And do you mean a rival as into art?
As in producing the similar kind of beautiful art at the same time?
Man, if I could produce images like James Webb, you wouldn't need to spend billions of dollars on an industry. You just give me the billions of dollars and I'll paint pictures of space for you.
But are you going to use its images, I guess, would be a question.
Of course, right, okay. Of course. I'm so excited, but also for me, I like to paint at scale. So I'm going to be undertaking images of a scale that has never been seen. So I'm going to be doing massive canvases coming up, which is exciting.
Oh really? What sort of size are we? Are we talking about Nazca line size, or what are we talking about?
No. I mean, that would be cool. No, sort of like 4 to 10 meters. In that range.
Wow.
Nice.
So 13 to 30 feet, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah, big.
How long are we thinking that will take to do?
I feel like a lot of my artwork, the reason why often it's taken me so long up until this point is because I was just really ADHD and I was like undiagnosed and I didn't realize I had all this going on. So a lot of it was just like the pauses in between while I was distracted by shiny objects. So I feel like it probably wouldn't take me a great deal of time, although they're still going to take a lot of time of like processing, like, and just painting stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So I only had one more type of question. Jazz, do you want to, because we've got a nice little final game coming up. So do you want to lead us off on the DALL-E stuff, Jazz?
Yes. This is also something I'm interested in is, just AI generated art, which is getting surprisingly really good, especially like DALL-E. Like some people's prompts are like really, really specific and it's like random and specific and it's, popping out really pretty good images. And there's also like spin-off ones that I've seen that are pretty good too. But like we just want to know, like, what's your thoughts on them? Like, do you like them? Do you not like them? What do you kind of envision like the future of that looking like?
Because in many ways it's now becoming sort of capable of taking a prompt and doing it in a particular style. Perhaps show me an astronaut by the pool in the Cathrin Machin style, please.
Right.
Is this going to be a problem going forwards?
So ultimately, the way that AIs work is they work off data sets. So, and the reason why you see a lot of like this in like a Van Gogh style is because a lot of that is like free domain because it's been passed a long time and those things are now handed over to the public to use.
It's in the public consciousness of like, this is what a cool picture looks like. It looks like
but just on the basis of like intellectual property, right? it does become a bit challenging when you've got this going on, and maybe some people are using if someone was using art, like someone like an artist, doesn't have to be me, but any artist, and taking all their work and putting it into an AI to generate, and using that as a data set without permission. I think that's where it becomes quite problematic, because the truth is that DALL-E is resting on the shoulders of thousands and thousands of artists already, which is something to consider. I think people think, oh, DALL-E just makes it, but it uses data sets, right? And that in itself is fine. I think that it's wonderful that people can create so many cool things, and it's just a new tool, but it's amazing what AI is taking, like what it's doing. And it's not just this art stuff, but it's like every industry. And it is a little bit daunting when you look at it. But for instance, like AI is going to be really taking over a lot of litigation, and anything that lawyers need to do, contract law, it's all going to be written by AI. A lot of music and that kind of stuff. A lot of like content, like written content. Now you not only can get an AI to write it, but you can also get an AI to speak it in your accent.
There's a program that I use, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but a friend of mine put me onto it. When I want to find documentary type music, but I want it to be kind of, maybe I'm doing one about China, so I want it to be more in the style of Chinese, traditional music or whatever it is. There's an AI website that he sent me to, and I can't remember the name of it now. I'll put it down in the description, where I can type, documentary in China about X,
right?
And it will produce something that, I would be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I would expect that maybe to be on a BBC documentary, but it's completely made from scratch by the AI, and it's it's getting really, really good.
Using data sets of already composed music, so it has reference, right? Because that's actually where it's the underlying thing. So this is fascinating because it is terrifying for a lot of creatives. However, it's like this concept of art versus craft. It has mastered the craft, and it can do it on a shockingly fast pace. But will it ever take over the concept of the art? Like, will it ever have introspective thoughts and want to share a message that of deep importance to itself? Who knows? When it gets to that point, that's the point where I'm going to be really scared, I think.
And I guess there's still a lot of space for you. Like you said, it's based on data sets, so it's always going to be based on past work. So there's still a lot of space for innovation, new styles, because it can't produce something that it hasn't seen already. So it's always kind of playing that catch-up game.
But it is, and like the progress in general intelligence, how things can like evolve, like how it can potentially evolve. Like it might start with a base set, but it might create its own styles eventually, and that's phenomenal and amazing too. And I like the fact that now anyone has access to art. Like if you wanted to create something that was beautiful for your podcast, or as a title, or if you wanted to design your own, like there's going to be a point where you don't go to a website and be like, oh, I'm going to look through pictures of something to get a new backpack for school. You'll just like generate one, and you'd be like, that'd be so cool, I'm going to print that. And that will be your thing that you get. So
just got to worry about the deep fakes, that's all. But
it's democratizing. It's like democratizing access to artwork or creation of artwork for everyone. Like I can understand why a lot of artists feel very threatened. In particular, I think that people that don't have aren't even able, struggle to even sell their own artwork at this stage. But there's something beautiful and tactile about something that's physical, and that's created with meaning and heart and love and all that kind of like inspiration. Because when you look at a picture on the wall, it's not like, oh, look how accurate it is. I know a lot of people will think of it that way if they don't know what art really is. But this story that goes behind what it means is like, I look at the artworks in my house, and none of them are like wall decorations. All of them mean something. I look at them and I think about like the concept of what the art was trying to, and it's like it's moments of reminding, whether it's like a picture of space or it's something else, maybe even it could be abstract, but it's got some really cool meaning behind it. Because that's actually, I'm trying to create, we've got to create environments where they're filled with meaning rather than stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if AI will be able to bring like a big, deep sense of meaning to what they're doing. But maybe I think at that point we're all doomed, to be honest.
Right. That on that terrifying note, the final. I've got the final game to play. Are we all okay for 5 more minutes or so?
Yeah, plenty. I've got plenty of time.
Jazz, are you okay? Good. Right. So what I did is, I went to DALL-E. I think it's DALL-E Mini actually. Some of them are DALL-E 2 as well, so they might be a little bit better. And I put in some prompts, or other people have put in prompts previously. However, the game is, I'm not going to tell you what the prompts are. I'm just going to show you the outcomes.
All right.
And I want you to tell me what the prompts were. So Kat, I'm going to give you the first one to start with. What's the prompt that was given here?
Oh my God.
No, I will give you a clue. They're all space related in some way.
I don't know, because like the first thing I think is like an Oompa Loompa crossed with something.
Right.
I don't know who that is or what this reference is. Like I've got zero idea.
Jazz, do you want to come maybe?
It's reminding me of Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald, 1 point for Jazz. So Ronald McDonald.
Nice.
Now what is Ronald McDonald maybe doing in relation to space here? What's
is it crossed with like a Star Trek thing?
Ronald McDonald in Star Trek. That's
You're kidding.
That was the prompt that went with this one here. So,
wow.
Let me see if I can find the Ronald McDonald in Star
like
Trek.
the hair and the orange or the yellow and the red gave it away.
I tell you what, though,
definitely Ronald McDonald.
Like, and also there's AIs now that will animate things and like put
that's scary. That's gonna put me out of business as well. So I should be worried.
Yeah, like these are all tools that we can master, but it's like we have to find a way. It's going to be like this. Everyone was like, "Oh no, word processors."
Yeah,
we're not going to.
It's always been the same. It's always been the same. We just have to adapt.
We get AI, and it means that the basic stuff that we did, but now we're doing more. It's like, we create a YouTube video, and before we would just have like static images, but now we can use AI and we can create custom things all the way through. And it's like the same amount of work. It's just the result is way cooler.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It's everyone's complained about everything from the start. Kat, I know. I showed this one to Jazz earlier, and she got it. So I'm going to give you the chance to even it up here. What's going on in this image?
Is that R2D2?
R2D2, it is
birthing pool. Is that like a
close, more religious?
Oh, it's getting baptized.
R2D2 getting baptized. Excellent.
That is sacrilegious.
Nice fusion of science and religion. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's waterproof. I guess he probably is.
That
if he goes
is
into
so funny.
Do you know, Jazz? Is R2D2 waterproof? We asked the big question.
I don't know. I hope so.
Sure.
I like him. I think he's very cute.
Doesn't he go under the water in one of them? I'm sure he does when they crash.
Watch Star Wars.
Oh, you haven't watched? Okay, fine. Pretty sure he probably is.
I hope he is. Okay, good.
Right, next one. Jazz actually sent me this one, so
I'm not gonna say it. Yeah.
What might be going on here, Cathrin?
I mean, it's like a selfie with a robot.
Good selfie, right? And there is a robot there. So there's a selfie.
Right.
When might the selfie be being taken?
Like the year 3050.
I'm gonna give you that.
So
Jazz, tell us what's going on here.
It's the last selfie ever taken.
Oh wow!
This particular prompt has been getting a lot of attention lately because somebody typed it in and all of the results were very like apocalyptic and like the people. It's so scary, and like the people like taking the selfies look very like skeletal and like I don't know. The images when you type in last selfie taken, it's just really haunting, I guess is the right way.
There's no like ascending angels into heaven and stuff.
It's all like very apocalyptic.
People dead in the background and deserts.
I feel like this makes sense though, because like whilst of course like the thing is that all AI is, all DALL-E is
It's
a mirror to
reflection of it,
humanity.
yeah.
I know, and I know that is terrifying, but these are the things that we talk about frequently because we're scared it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's probably why, you know, what's amazing about DALL-E is not just that it's creating pieces of artwork, but it's actually trying to understand literally what's being said, the context of what's being said, and trying to create images based on that context, which is like so groundbreaking.
And we should probably take heed that every single time we ask it about the future, it reflects back that we know it's not looking great at the moment. So we should maybe try and do something about that.
Right. It's just a reflection to humanity. And I mean, and I don't necessarily mean like it's like what's happening now, although it kind of is. Yeah. But it's like what we're talking about, what we're fascinated by, you know, what we share online is this. Like, this is what we're talking about frequently. And with good reason, because there is a looming economic issue, like environmental issue, right?
I agree.
But yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
So next one, I've got 3 more, and then we're done.
Oh my God, this is
I think I know what this one is.
Right,
like a Darth Vader propaganda.
Darth Vader is what? Right, Darth Vader propaganda. What style?
Communist propaganda.
Well, amazing. Killed it. It's Darth Vader in Soviet era space propaganda.
Oh yeah,
it makes so much sense. I mean, kind of the movies should have been done like this.
I'm worried about how quickly you got that, Kat, to be honest.
It's very clear. This was a very clear picture. It was very good. I'm going to see if I've got any that I can show you.
What's this one's a nice one.
I love this one.
Oh,
I feel like did you post this? I don't know if you did or someone else.
I might have posted this one. Tardigrade, gummy worm.
I liked, somebody posted it and I liked their tweet. Yeah.
I'm going to show you this one because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, shoot it over.
This one is called Taco Bell toothpaste. I'm going to hold it up and hopefully.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's pretty good.
It's like,
wow.
When I hear Taco Bell, all I think of is Demolition Man. I can't.
Taco Bell toothpaste, which is terrifying. And then we were like, what happens? The other one that we were doing is what happens when you mix 2 movies that don't go? Like, we were like Aliens versus Disney Up, and it came out with this. And I don't know.
God.
I hope you
wow.
Oh God,
yeah, I can see it.
Terrifying.
Probably not. It's amazing. It made this whole Tim Burton-esque Disney Up versus Aliens, and it's just like
wow. Now look, that does, you can see where it's taken like you know, Jack Skellington or whatever, and
right. And I was like,
put the alien head on it.
Because sometimes I'm like, it can't possibly come up with anything for this, and I'm like, I'm just gonna like make something up, see how. And it always does, and I'm like, oh damn, I was actually pretty smart. Yeah,
it's amazing that it can draw that level of relationships between the two. You'll have to, if you send me those over as well afterwards.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll edit them in so that people can see them properly as well. So that's not a problem. I'll just edit out like a couple. I won't change anything, but I'll just edit out a couple of the pauses and you know, link stuff up. I don't and it trying to do my my virus check while I'm doing this. Right. So final one. Final one, and you've been pretty level so far. So let's see how we get on with this final one.
Oh, that's easy. Alien and a murder trial.
Yeah,
alien in court. Yeah,
alien in court. What is he in court for? What is he?
Murder trial.
Not for murder. What is he being asking to account for? What has he been up to? What has he done wrong that he's having to make amends for?
Probing.
Basically. So alien in court, being asked to account for his abductions. So
why does it? Funny. Well, probing is what happens.
I'll allow it.
I thought it was going to be like for shoplifting or something.
Yeah, like so.
Like,
come back with those big cookies, you know. Like.
But it really is getting really, really good. I'm gonna call that a score draw because I think you both did really well on that. Kat, before you go,
yes,
you have a store that's just opened. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on at the moment? Because there's a hell of a lot of exciting stuff going on. I particularly like these bedspreads and comforters, particularly the black hole one.
So it's funny because they are good for beds. So basically I put my artwork onto a comforter, right? But I actually wanted to create the best experience for when you're watching TV, or like if you're working, and I was like sit with like a little blanket. I like to be cozy, even though I live in Alabama right now and it's always bloody hot. But I like to be cozy. But the problem is with fleece blankets is two things. Firstly, they're always 4 inches too short. It doesn't matter how big the damn thing is. It's always 4 inches too short. And I don't know why, but it just is a thing with fleece blankets. And then the second thing is, as soon as you wash a fleece blanket, it goes cruddy. I don't know if you've had it, where it goes into like little gross lumps. And the only way to get it out is to like hand brush it. So they always feel like so nice for the first like little bit, and then they just turn into like disgusting and like ugh. So I wanted something that would just be able to be like used all the time, and it just always feels good and it always looks good. And I went through 14 different manufacturers. And I did 6 months product development.
Did your due diligence then?
I did thousands of dollars of due diligence. But that's how I do all my products. So then I created it. And for me, it's like the perfect blanket, which is a lot to say, but it's just, and then I spent a lot of time making these artworks. So these are all artworks that people have seen me do before. But before they were like 12 by 12 inches.
So these are all genuine pieces that you've made that you've now put onto various products.
But now they're like 104 inches. So like they're scaled up like 10x. So like every speck of dust would be 10 times the size. I've had to lovingly, painstakingly remove all of those things. So you can't see. You literally can't see them naked eye unless you get like a little magnifying glass. But like these massive issues, and then also removing all the weave and adding in an insane amount of detail. Actually, funnily enough, using the same software that I process Astro photos with. I processed my artwork painting photos.
So you can get Astro tech quality
right
on your comforters now. This is the sales pitch.
NASA approved
comforters.
Not, but you can say that.
That's it is rocket science. We're really at this thing. Jigsaws as well.
And I made puzzles. And it's weird, but I did my first puzzle like after being the age of 6, about a year ago, or like just over a year ago, and it was amazing. And I just never thought I would be the person to be like, jigsaw puzzles are amazing, because my whole life all I've been doing is like partying and clubbing and like DJing and like intense. My existence, every inch of my existence is so intense, where like so much I haven't explained. But there was me with this puzzle, and like it slows you down. I feel like, not in a bad way, just sort of like it lets you like connect to the moment. And just there's an aspect of like the problem solving aspect, and then just kind of like you're on a treasure hunt trying to find pieces and tapping in those pieces when you so satisfying. I don't know why did no one tell me it was this good. Like I just never thought that puzzles would be my thing. I just thought that was like something that all the
maybe it goes back to this sort of particle physicsy thing of kind of building it up from scratch as well to make this, this beautiful wider image. So I can get behind that. Going from
taking a bunch of chaos and making something out of it is just so satisfying. I never thought that I would. Honest to God, I never thought I would ever be a person that would ever come on a podcast and say that. I love puzzles for that reason. So I'm sorry, but I just wanted everyone to have this moment, and also it's like kind of fun just to connect with people and for people to like all work on the same little thing together. I don't know. I'm a convert, honestly. So I only ever create products that I really love and I really use, and I know they're 2 random ones, but I hope they bring people a lot of enjoyment. Or to be honest, space puzzles are really hard, so probably a bunch of frustration too.
So where can people go to see this stuff? I've got the links. I'll put them all down in the description. Is there an easy URL that people can go to?
There isn't really an easy URL, but it's
they'll all be down in the description.
Yeah, cathrinmachin.myshopify.com.
Okay.
I should have made a custom URL for it, but I just haven't. But if not, like my social media, all my social media pages point to it. And I'll
make sure all those will be down in the description.
Oh, thank you so much. I just appreciate you guys a great deal, and it just basically funds me to be able to make artwork, because like a lot of things that people enjoy take thousands of hours sometimes, and so that I can share them with everyone for free. Obviously, I just have to make sure that I can pay my own light bills.
That's always, especially at the moment in the UK, they just kind of like doubled in price the electricity bills in a month. So yeah, you've got to keep an eye on that. No, we very much appreciate you taking the time, because we know how incredibly busy you've been, especially with the store launch and all these kind of things. So we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a great pleasure. Jazz, have you got any other things you'd like to raise before we close up?
I don't know. I'm just a big fan, so it's like, aww. I don't remember when I started following you, but yeah, I was just like, oh, I finally get to talk to her. Oh, yeah, I'm not an artist by any means, but my sister is. Like, she's actually going to art school, so.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
I just dropped her off today. Yeah.
Please send me your details, and I will send you some comforters or puzzles or whatever you want.
No, we're both big fans, and we're really glad to see your success and how the excitement it gives to science as well in the comments and things that you get around your stuff, as well as an awful lot of people who kind of, it rekindles an interest in them in the universe and the wider science as well. So it works on that level as well. And we are really enjoying seeing your success, and I hope it continues, and we hope the store goes really well as well.
Thank you so much. It's been an insane success already, and I'm just very grateful to be able to just, as I said, I can't fix light pollution, but hopefully I can get pictures of stars into people's homes just to give them that moment to like think about how amazing the universe is.
I think that's probably as good a place as any to leave it. Kat, thank you so much again. Jazz, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll leave it there. Take care, and we'll check in when the next big store launch or the next range of products goes out, I guess.
Awesome.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye.
I want to know what you think, because you're the scholars of enlightenment that I do this for. So please take a moment, if you wish, to let me know down in the comment section. And if you like this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, setting up notifications, and sharing this video more widely. I can't tell you how much these simple actions help me out and how much I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being scientific. Thanks for being bad.